Good evening and welcome to the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeart station. I'm your host, Roman. We're going to have a today. But first, the forecast from our IntellectualRadio.com weather center today. Clouds turning to partly cloudy skies, a little warm, high 35 degrees tonight, partly cloudy and chilly, high 27 degrees. Tomorrow, partly sunny, high 33 degrees. Tomorrow, clear, high 25 degrees. Wednesday, cloudy, snow showers in the afternoon, high 27 degrees. Friday, temperature 17 degrees. Friday, partly sunny, a little bit warm. Sunday, 7 degrees. The Drive at 5 is also part of the fabulous 5 at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station. Here is the rest of your Monday's lineup. Starting at 10 a.m., Market Skies radio show. 11 a.m., Becoming Talking with Tone. 9 p.m., Chronicles radio station. Tonight, my guest is healthy. I said healthy. Am I right? Long time, Gina.
It has. We're in a new studio.
Right.
I hadn't seen the studio.
Right. Please welcome Gina Lamar. To my left over here, entrepreneur and author Andrea Carter, and she will receive her PhD in 2020. He will have a health access and economic empowerment on Wednesday, February 12th, 9:30 a.m. at Olive Harvey College. Please give a Drive at 5 welcome to Dr. Jeffrey Stir. Welcome to the Drive, everyone.
Woo!
Now, with you, Gina, please briefly tell intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station your background.
All right. So again, my name is Gina Lamar, and I talk about sex. I have a master's in public health. I work for the county health systems. I've trained for the state. But I decided about 10 years ago to start having these conversations before you were infected and or impacted in front of me in the healthcare system. So I started Monday Night Mingle, where we'd have adult conversations. And while we're talking about relationships and cheating and things like that, I select in about HIV, STIs. We're the very own public health initiative.
Okay, you're next.
Hi, glad to be on the show. I'm Cortez Mack. I'm a Christian filmmaker from Chicago, and my purpose is to show positive films and television and film as much as we can. You know, we have a lot of images out here that destroys our community, and as a filmmaker, I'm just doing my best to do what I need to do to share positive stories that's going to help us heal, love, and show a good side of Black people.
Hi, my name is Andrea Carter, and about 8 years ago, I opened another elementary school for disenfranchised children. Right now, I'm on the path of just inspiring broken women, and I have a book out. It's about healing and just inspirational. And what do you do? Why I'm here, and what do you do in regards to just moving forward after you have experienced traumatic situations?
That's fantastic. You guys are doing some pretty impressive things. I'm Jeffrey Sterling. I'm an emergency physician by training. I'm also a public health professional and a healthcare entrepreneur business, and implement public health solutions all around the world. The simple solution that we'll be talking about is an effort to for any of the types of efforts that you're talking about in high-risk communities, African American communities in particular, up and down the state. So I'm here to really facilitate the types of aspirations that we all have for ourselves, our professions, and our communities.
Absolutely.
So this is Black History Month, and I thought it's very important to talk about, but you hear discussions about it, but they don't get to the root of it. So we're gonna try our best to get to the root of it.
How many minutes? Right.
But let's start with this question: why mental health is so important in the Black community? You start.
You know, I now that I'm starting, I think it's really important because if we're not healthy, it's hard to have healthy relationships, right? Because I do the relationships, I watch and I see the demise of really of people because they haven't addressed certain issues, right? And unfortunately, in the African American community, it was always like, you don't need therapy, you need church, just pray on it, right? And we have missed the boat in addressing the physiological, the you know what I mean, that it's a health issue. It's not just psychological. End up using drugs and alcohol to try to, you know.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that we don't like being honest about it. You know, we've been so busy just throwing all our history, our uh, um, what we do. We pass on all these symptoms and these stories, and we keep passing them more, and nobody ever deals with the root of how it started. My parents drink alcohol. Well, was alcoholics. I never drank. I still don't drink too much. But I have a stepbrother who's to do all these things. But
I think it's very important to healthy mind, because our best thinking has got us to where we are right now. A lot of times we see people, they have a victim mindset, and they blame. It's two types of people in the world. You have the people that take accountability for their behaviors, and then you have the people that have victim mindsets that want to blame circumstances to dictate our lives. So it's very important that we are dealing with, in our communities, we're dealing with a 911 situation, because I've been an educator for over 25 years. And what I do see is a number of our children that are just when it's, and it affects every area of our lives.
Trauma.
Just one last thing. Yeah. One last thing is the issues that we deal with as the adult issues that we deal with as children, fulfilling life as an adult.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's very important that we are having this conversation in regards to mental illness in the Black community.
That's stuff.
Well, there's been a lot said. First of all, mental illness can be objectified. It's not just, there aren't just opinions in play here. These are real things, and they need to be objectified, because you can define what mental does suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, years, and not be legitimately victims of oppression.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge then becomes, how do we overcome it? How do we address it? How do we deal with it? How do we aspire to do better? So in your world of two type ones of us are able to adjust to the realities that the ways in which one of us may have been victimized may be more oppressive and more debilitating than others of us who have been able to adjust to a new reality and to overcome that, and only to address ongoing oppression and efforts to put us down. So it's not to mention all the mental health challenges that trying to be in America and mental challenges of all matter of you deciding which conversation you want to have, because this rabbit hole is incredibly deep. And we can't
So
simplify it.
let me ask you this question, and then goes to you and to the panel. Why we tend to ignore mental health in the Black community?
Because we're busy.
Why? Why you say that?
Because, again, in order to submit to mental health, excuse me, rephrase that. There's a train of thought that in order to adequately address mental health, you need to submit. Excuse me. You need to take time, go to psychotherapy, you really analyze what's going on. That is a lot. Now think about the ongoing efforts to us and address the historical connotations in many cases, when you continually have new stuff that's being dumped on you every single day. So the choice then becomes, am I going to surrender and just get help and just opt out of the world? Or am I can be equated to, well, you're not addressing your man or community.
An oppressed person, basically, the oppressor has devalued that person, and they've actually bought into what the oppressor has done. But to answer your question, the reason why I believe that, one of the reasons why I believe that we ignore it is because our abnormal has become the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what we don't know. You don't ask questions if you just don't know. So a number of things that's going on in that circumstances that are going on in our communities, we think that it is norm. And I look at it as, in the Black church, we call it generational strongholds. In my book, I call it generational why. So it has become this cultural stronghold that we need to break. And a number of the reason why we're not breaking it is because we have become narrow-minded, and we're not open to, we only can go as far as we can see, and we're not open to other perspectives. So we're kind of stuck as far as our mind has taken us. And when we become to open to other ideas, then we'll see an improvement in our mental our mental situation that says intelligent people ask questions. I'm not saying anyone is not intelligent, but when we get to ask questions, why did grandma do this, or why am I doing this? Why am I reacting instead of being proactive? Why is it that and it's a whole different topic about how we're demonizing our African American men now. But why is it that it's like we're butting heads with our men, our kings, and why so to me, I just feel as if that our abnormal has become the norm for us, and that's the paradigm shift that we need to see in our community. And
I mean, I don't know if there's much I can follow up with other than really we just learn to cope, right? And we just think that it is normal that you just simply go therapy and go for it. And I now know things like just simple, season curtains up and to be able to have sunlight. So I recognize those things. I'm able to address them, but I'm okay with addressing them. I have family members who do not because they, things come up that just and I don't. That's the bigger question. Why do things come up? Like, why do we have to wait until
been showing this stuff since day one?
Mm.
In between the presidency of Barack Obama, that's when they showed the most slave and nigger film director of the Writers Guild of America. In order for you to get into that door, you have to have stat. You got to know somebody. I ain't know nobody. He told me literally, this is our plan to show all these negative films about black people and sell them. And what do? We run to them because we say support black movies. All these, even classic films like Love Jones, these are written by white people. Good Time was written by white people. All the slave movies are written by white people. So they're telling our stories.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get to tell our stories, we add on to the dysfunctionality of it. One of the most epic. I just watched this documentary called They Need Us. And it was about the filmmakers of how they control what we see on the television every day. And the problem is they showed a clip of one of the most classic films, Claudine. I tell every filmmaker to watch Claudine and watch how they purposely designed that film.
Absolutely.
To show the destruction of the black household.
Yeah.
There are scenes in there where it say, I'm trying to remember the script, but they say she couldn't get assistance if she kept the man out the house.
Right. She had to hide his
20.
Yes. Yeah. And that is still.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Keeping men out the house.
Yeah.
I work every day. I have to go to a church, a job, and hear people care their responsibilities. But yet it sells.
Yeah.
We're packing theaters. We're not boycotting this stuff. But we're boycotting.
We were taught the media and their perspective of us. And that's why I came out with a children's book with the little black girl that's aspiring to whatever she wants to be. And she goes on nebulous adventures because we right now in 2020, we have the least amount of African-American images in children's book as of like the last 40 years right now in 2020.
And we're so talented in the arts.
Yes.
Or sculptures, all this stuff. But where is our positive image? When you start, I mean to cut you off, but when you start looking at
to what you said, that was a point that you brought up, because they were saying how it was devised to take Bill Cosby shows off of TV last year because of the positive images that he was, and Different World, when Different World was out, we have the highest number of African Americans enrolled in black colleges at that point. So it was
shows. So what they did was class them at the same time, pull down ratings. It's a strategy.
Of course. But you know what? I do say this. We have people say, oh, college isn't for everybody. I said, not the way my grandparents fought, were killed. The way things went for that. You simply owe it to our ancestors to just learn how to read and write.
Yeah, college, but education is for everyone. Higher learning is for everyone, but not necessarily, the college thing. So education is for everyone.
So let me ask this question. Earlier, Gina, you said, is the black church a psychiatrist?
Yes.
So I'm going to pose this question to you, Dr. Sterling. Then, like your auntie, your grandma, go to Jesus.
Yes.
When something goes wrong, call your pastor. You need to pray more. because something is wrong. God is going to fix it. Hallelujah. Is the church the cure for Black community mental health? I'll start with you, Dr. Sterling.
Well, absolutely not. But for individuals, it absolutely is no one institution that has the cure for all of our ills. And it would be equally irresponsible to suggest that there's any one institution that can fix all of us. God is within us. The answer, if you want to look for these things and to get to your previous question, we will address this at such time that we choose to address this. This is about our values, and at some point, we have to accept responsibility for the positions that we put ourselves in. Okay. Now, once again, that is not to dismiss the very real contributions of oppression and institutional racism. But the one thing that you can be sure of is that the surest way for us to get out of this situation is for us to determine that we have a new set of values and that we're going to demand better of ourselves and we're going to do better and thus be better. So going back to the conversation that you two were just about to debate on before you jumped in, my response to that is that imagine if we were a community in which the expectation was education. Now, you said education isn't for everybody. Yeah, that's actually true. But what if it was? What if we demanded that as a community of ourselves? What if we demanded that we were going to be a highly intelligent, highly successful culture and community? We have it within us to do that.
Absolutely.
Why do we not
Yes.
choose to do that? The answer to your question is at such time that we decide to use all of the vehicles that are available to us, inclusive of the church, inclusive of using television to tell our vision instead of alternate visions that are imposed upon us, where we empower ourselves, love each other, and do what's necessary. That's when we'll start to see meaningful change. So don't take the first part of what I said the wrong way. I think the church is right here as a pillar of our community and needs to be used for what it is. But to simply say I'm going to lay all of my problems at the feet of the church and let Jesus take the wheel, absolutely not. And again, when you think that way, you give away your power, and that's not going to get us where we need to be.
So, Gina, I'm going to phrase this question to
Yeah.
you since you brought this up. Why Blacks a psychiatrist? Is it because of affordability, not accessibility to the Black community, or they're ashamed to go?
Stigma. Yeah, we put it on them because it's not acceptable, right? All of those things definitely play a part. When you are a parent, when your parents trying to figure out how you're going to put food on the table versus how you're going to, if you're going to pay an additional $500 a month easily to send your child to or your children to psychotherapy, right? You simply say, no, we're going to go ahead and pray on this and deal with this, and we'll handle it a different way or something like that. So finances definitely make a difference. But the stigma goes with only crazy people go to see a doctor. Only crazy people go to see a therapist, right? Regular people, or you're weak. There's something wrong with you being weak. You don't know how many times, especially for Black men, that I'm just super sensitive. I have 17 boys, 17 nephews, right? No girls have been born for years. So it's super, like making sure that we don't do things that say you're weak, because they're all boys. So they're going to say all kind of stuff, man, kind of soft with those shoes, dumb stuff, right? And so we have to make sure that we foster, a sense of them feeling okay with, if you're not feeling okay, it's okay. You don't even have to tell anybody that you've gone. So I've had a couple nephews who have actually gone to therapy and experienced it and said, okay, I liked it, but then just didn't want to keep going, whatever the case may be. But they had to have it as an option. Stigma it keeps us all down from so many things.
Here's a rhetorical statement. Isn't it amazing how the Black people are the only people who break their necks to get to the church? On Sundays, you see everybody enjoying their families, out at the park, doing whatever they need to do. We've been told so long that the church is the answer to everything. I video weddings. Most people don't even get married in the church no more because they feel the church don't have substance no more. People, we're living in a time where church is accessible on the phones, YouTube, internet. So going in the building is irrelevant now. We don't believe God the way we used to. God is becoming brand. The church becomes a marketing tool. It's to sell books, it's to make CDs, all these things. So we're taking out the congregation needs for leadership needs. and people start to fall away. Even the scripture tells us this is a time when many men will fall away. And we're falling away because we used to run to the church to get something. Now we have to go through the preliminaries to even get to what we want. And when we get there, somehow it's not really reaching everybody. It used to, you can go, you cut in, but I'm just saying the church is not where it used to be and where it should be. Not according to me, but according to God. Because I would say, or to God is not pleased where we're at.
I think a lot of I love your comment. I think a lot of times when I was growing up in the sanctified churches, we talked about being saved and going to heaven. But if you go to Presbyterian, Lutheran, Catholic, they're living their heaven on earth. And we're supposed to be living a heaven on earth because the Bible talks about us prospering, about living in abundance, not only material, but also in spiritual, and man has given us. And I think that's not being preached. That's not the doctrine, or that's not being that's actually being preached. And I think the cry of the land right now, a lot of churches saying, come in, get saved, get saved. But what do I do when I get saved? Why am I here? And there is an idea that God has for people's lives to fulfill, that is not being talked about over the pulpit. So people are wandering around because they want to know. They're wandering around like 40 years. Okay, why am I here? They're in this person's lane. They're getting jealous of that person because they don't know why they're here. They don't know that they have an identity. They have a purpose here that God wants them to fulfill. And that if they trust the process, but you can't beat me being me. And I always tell women, I can't be. When I look in the mirror, that's my competition. My competition is not right. My competition is not to my left, but my competition is in my mirror. And every day I work today so I can manifest my tomorrow.
Let me give 2 seconds.
Go ahead.
In addition to that, when we get to the church, what do we hear? We hear that somebody's hating on me. We're preaching a spirit of division.
Come on.
Not just in the people, but we're speaking that spirit into marriages. We're speaking that spirit into families. This is why we have the dysfunctionality, and it leads back to the mental illness.
Come on.
Now, we couldn't grow up saying things to our parents because we saw fists, we saw slap, we saw neighbor, we saw all that. Now we can't do that.
Conversation about whether or not you were physically abused, and whether or not that was
I'm not talking about the
bothering you. Yeah, I'm saying I'm
talking about the isolation. All this leads to isolation, which leads to mental illness. Right. Don't nobody love me. All this stuff. Listen, it happens. It's real. And I think if we get to a point and be honest with the conversations, why we here? Why do we get here as people? Why are we so messed up? And we just passing it on, and we just don't stop. But every other culture is enjoying their lives.
I just can't say that every other culture is okay, though, right? I mean, I do look at our things.
I said enjoying their lives.
I do think, I do get it. And for some of us who think they're enjoying their lives by smoking bud every day or something, they think they're enjoying their lives. But I will say, I agree that I just want to stop comparing, like you said, about your biggest competition is you. Like being Gina is my superpower, right? Like you can be a whole bunch of stuff. You just can't be Gina Lamar. And that, as soon as we figure that part out, we'll be okay.
The why I'm here.
But I'm here because, and again, it's going to go back to what you said about faith, right? You have to figure out, why you're here is because, in my world, because your mama and your daddy had sex. That's my world. But I say,
well, the purpose. When I say the why, I'm talking about the purpose, the idea that God has for you to fulfill on this earth. And a lot of people don't even know that they have purpose, that purpose exists for them.
Dr. Sterling, I'll pose this question to you. We tend to ignore Black males' mental health issues, which has increased over the years from anxiety, depression, and other mental illness, which we briefly discussed. Have the Black community ignored the Black male's mental health?
Yes.
That's it. So how can we diagnose it?
That's a pretty good question, because I will challenge the contention that the first step needs to be diagnose it. I would actually suggest that, having dealt with thousands upon thousands of black men in these situations, that the first thing I want you to do is to have a stronger coat of armor. Because as I mentioned, all the while, even as you are getting treated, you're going to have to continue to be shielded from the onslaught of additional stuff that's coming at you. Okay. So kind of keep that in mind. Now, the whole notion of whether or not it's weak, soft, or anything else to get addressed, black men have simply not been given the space to be vulnerable, to
Yep.
be
Yep.
all the things that are part of being human. And to some extent, that's understandable. To some extent, that's necessary. But in the context of mental health, it's not good. So once again, I'm not going to explain away any pathology that exists in our community, but understanding how you got to it allows you to address the root causes and to strengthen that armor, as I mentioned before. The long and short of it is that you just don't need me, my sisters here. You don't need me to deal with my mental health issues and to come out of it mentally clean. You need me to come out of it mentally strong.
Yeah,
See,
absolutely.
black women have been given the space to be black queens. Let's have a conversation about how to empower men to become kings. Do we remember what kings look like? Everybody likes to talk about descendants of slaves. I like to talk about descendants of kings.
King.
Okay,
Absolutely.
because what I'm looking
That's
at
not our
is
history.
once I exactly. So once I get myself cleaned out, I'm looking to assume a position of strength, of power that allows me to honor our most trusted traditions, to engage our own in a way that is empowering, respectful, and forward looking. So all of that, yeah, keep this in mind. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but in the state of Illinois, 56% of the men. So if you've ever watched a documentary like 13th, okay, and understand what the root causes of all of this are, you have to understand that we have so much to deal with. It's not just as simple as saying, okay, can we provide better access for mental health services for black men and make everything okay? No, the name of the game here is, how do we chart a path? How do we build a bridge so that we stop playing to where we actually become empowered as a community, have our own, embrace each other, establish community, and take our own space first, and then actually compete because of our demonstrated superiority with the greater
Mm-hmm.
community, because we cannot separate ourselves out from this thing called America. We're much more communal than others in this place, but the long and short of it is that we got to realize we are in the most capitalistic country that has ever been created,
You
and we
got
have
it.
got to own our own. We don't own our own talent in the way that others do. And if we're ever going to get to a place to where we have true mental health, I guarantee you a lot of it's going to come from financial considerations, a lot of it's going to come from educational considerations. So there's a long game to be
And that's
played
the
here.
solution, what you're saying,
Oh,
financial
absolutely.
and
We're going to talk about the
educational.
Simcoe solution. It's all about empowerment. It's all about engagement and taking ownership of what is ours. Again, there's differences between reasons and excuses, but at the end of the day, it needs to be fixed
Fixed. Yeah, I agree.
toward what the greater goal is going to be over the long term.
Andrea, pass this question on to you. Majority of black women don't want to see a black man cry, don't want to see a black man down, they don't want to see a vulnerable side of a black male, period, because it showcased them as what we discussed weak. Do black women understand what the black man has to go through for mental health?
That's a great question. I don't think that
Because it seems like, and I'll further this question, it just seems like to me that black women like shoo away some of the black men. I'm not saying majority of women. Well, I am. Majority of women shoo away black men that appears to be sensitive, appears to like, even if they got their stuff together or their ducks in a row or working on their, and the society packs down. A lot of people don't understand. As soon as you walk out that door, which I said on this show last week, it's a 50-50 chance that a black man, meaning four of us in this room,
Mm-hmm.
could make it out to our homes alive.
mhm, mhm.
Black women don't understand the mental capacity of baby mama drama, baby daddy drama, drama mama, all the dramas. Does a black woman understand black males' mental state?
I don't speak for all black women, but some of the women that I've dealt with, and for myself, I do understand. I do understand the black man state, and I believe that there is an attack on African American males, and it's just so prevalent even now. There has always been this attack. It's as if America is just intimidated with their intelligence, with the way they look, their athletic ability, and that's something that should be part of the conversation. You know, when you look at inventions, when you look at the colors on the computer, that came from a Nigerian, that came from our soil in Africa. When you look at the cell phone, it didn't come from Steve Jobs, that came from us. When you look at all of the inventions in this country, we built this country. Of course, they're going to be, you know, America is going to be intimidated and try to put down and try to make us feel inferior and try to devalue us and oppress the black man. And then there is an assault on African American men, to me, like no other time that I have experienced, especially with the Gayle King. Why are you assaulting this black man? 2 weeks ago he was alive. If you had a question about something he did 17 years ago, you should have brought that to the table then. But there was an agenda, and maybe it wasn't her agenda, but she knew what was going on. And for a paycheck, that's what you're going to do. That's what we're doing today. We're assaulting our black men. We're assaulting Bill Cosby. We're assaulting Michael Jackson. Is that what we're doing today? Those are our kings. And without them, who are we as black women? That's our backbone. So if you remove and that's the issue that we're having in our earth, we need to see that. We need our black men. Yes, I'm getting my doctoral degree, but I need my black man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I think what you said just is exactly what I tried to say to my nephews.
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason that they fight so hard to oppress
Absolutely.
you.
Come on now.
Like they get that. They get
Intelligent.
that faster than anything. There's a reason. Nobody, I mean, if you were nothing like they try to make black men think,
come on.
then why would they spend so much time trying to oppress you? When they systemically put you in prison, they systemically do not give you access to certain jobs and education, right?
When we break into every field, whether it's the NBA, the NFL, the medical field, we are going to reign. We're going to run it. That's why, and we need to understand, but just like when we condition our hair and we over condition our hair becomes weak, they have over conditioned the mind of black men to think they are weak, and they are the strongest men to me on this planet.
To them too. That's why they work so hard. To them too.
But
I just say it.
The problem I see, which Cortez said earlier, it's the media.
Absolutely.
You have Lil Wayne. You have all this. I'm a Mandingo. I have these many women. When you look at the videos, you see what? White women, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When you look at I'm going to kill you, Cortez.
Please don't.
Because I don't like you. That's the lyrics.
Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. They said this is the hood. But that's not the definition of the hood or the realities of it.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at their background, they said, like Akon came out with this whole thing. Look at him now, but back then he portrayed himself as hardcore. But you grew up in the suburbs, dude. Why are we so like into and I call it garbage rap? Why we're into the reality? Because you're saying it's conditioning our mindset. Why are we buying it? Why we're looking at the Nene Leakes? Why are we looking at?
Look, it's his fault. He's the filmmaker.
Why are we looking at the Nene Leakes? Why we're looking at all of these people, and that's part of the mental illness right there. Because
you're letting somebody dictate to you who you are. That's what they're doing. And we, in education, we call it the pipeline to prison. And when I was in school, you look at the books, and in the history books, you see us as slaves. We are not slaves. That's not our history. We're kings and queens. That's our history. You show me a history book and in any of the public schools in the United States, show us as kings and queens.
Yeah.
I want to see that. I haven't seen it. And I have 5 teaching licenses in 5 different states. So they're trying to dictate to us the standard of beauty, which is blonde hair and blue eyes, And I'm not Farrakhan, but they're trying to dictate to us the standard of beauty. Now the end thing is black girl magic or black said, because that's what they said. Okay, it's okay for you
Or
guys to be pretty
and
now.
sorry to cut you off, or this narrative of Afrocentric black women going with a white man.
Mhm.
That's the narrative that media is portraying. I know I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, Dr. Sterling said it. America's capitalism.
You got it.
Entertainment has one color, and it's green. And trust me, if you come from the block and they present you with a 5,000, 50,000, 500,000 cash in advance, you're going to take it.
And
And it don't matter what part of the industry is. And this is what we're doing now. And once again, sitting and talking to these people. This is why in Chicago, I encourage go sit in these film places where these people are running these shows, NBC, Universal. Get in that
In
atmosphere.
Georgia.
and the
Huh?
You know, sitting in Georgia now. Tyler
Mm-mm.
Perry's biggest studio.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Okay, gotcha.
Listen,
Gotcha.
you build a table, but you ain't invite nobody to it.
Okay.
That's a whole nother conversation.
the media
Mm.
is
Say that again. Say that again. You
So, I don't want to get too deep with this. I'm going to make you guys think on this one. The American experience, think about all the immigrants that have come across the shores.
Mhm.
Okay. The tradition was pretty much the same. You came here penniless. You worked your butt off, first generation. Second generation, you might have gotten lucky and become educated. Third generation, you actually began to get some wealth inside your community. That has been a very consistent experience for all
You got it.
communities in America,
Mhm.
except for ours.
Yep.
Very curious. Look at what happened with us. And again, you have to actually look at what time zero was for us. We're talking about the 60s. That really was our time zero when we first started to get some rights. Now, what ended up happening with us is that we followed that path. The 70s was a beautiful time. We had much love, peace, and coming off the free sex revolution of the 60s and all that.
absolutely.
But black
Yeah.
folks did the same thing,
Mhm.
worked their butts off, started to get educated,
Yep.
started to come up. However, I would actually argue, and I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody of a certain hue inside of this whole genre, but did you notice that hip hop, the emergence of a certain brand of hip hop, was the first time in American history that a community was allowed to become fabulously wealthy without necessarily acclimating, if not assimilating into the greater
Absolutely.
American fabric.
Yep.
So the whole notion of why we haven't overcome is because we are doggedly, stupidly, stubbornly stuck in our worst habits.
Yep.
Where the opportunities, and somebody figured it out. They said, well, hell, if I can just give you $50,000 to knock down kings across the board, then let's just go that route and we can keep oppressing you. So part of this is what we do to ourselves, and we continue to stop accepting responsibility for how we can do better and thus be better, because it's short term. We're not looking at the long term here.
Mhm.
Penny wise, pound foolish. Oh, you talked about Lil Wayne. Well, think about it. Are you telling me there aren't intelligent brothers out there that can't rap that couldn't get that same type of acknowledgement? No. We're
You
being
got it.
pushed. It's all about the agenda.
Common
But
is one of those that I would call intelligent,
and
right?
did-
But he's never going to be
and
But
did,
a billionaire like Lil Wayne. No, I'm saying he's never going to be a Lil Wayne because
moving
you
forward
got
together.
it.
Yeah.
Because he's not willing to just do whatever and say whatever just to sell a record, right? One of the rap songs says like, "Oh, just say this," and he says that's stupid. He says, "Yeah, but that's okay. It sounds good." And
Right.
like I said, if that isn't a subliminal message right there in that song to pay attention
but the B also has a record label, and they do gangster rap, and they have private prisons. So that's almost a conflict of interest. So you're telling me to go out and rob people and rape people and all this foolishness, and then you own
and
private
then you get
prisons as well.
You got it, and then you get the labor on
and
the
all
inside.
of their
because go ahead and
I
finish.
just want to add 2 seconds. Even with that, remember in the conscious rappers out here, speaking love, speaking black
Right.
truth and all that. And right after they threw bling bling to him, and he changed the whole game back into all this fancy stuff. Because Public Enemy,
NWA.
NWA,
Yeah.
all of them were speaker conscious wearing the emblems. Watch Hip Hop Revolution on Netflix.
It's a wonderful series. Check this out. The topic is mental health. And you have to actually understand that there is a science behind all of this. These aren't opinions we're sprouting here. And Sigmund Freud had a lot of this right way back in the day. The truth of the matter is that sex and aggression cells. They're hardwired into the human fabric. And in a society that has freedom of speech and is capitalistic in nature, it's just like, Pavlov and his dog. If you guys remember that from sociology, you can strike a lot of chords by simply going back to the controversy with BET and how they were exploiting the sisters. It's so much to this. The long and short of it is that it would take a hell of a lot for us as a community to say no more. No more. We're going to boycott this, that, and not even boycott, but we're going to choose better for ourselves. That's the eternal challenge.
Absolutely.
Now, we're going to start down the line. Is HIV Awareness Month. Please talk a little bit, give you a minute, then you about hard rapping. They cut all of us off.
Absolutely.
So get in contact with you, stuff like that, and describe it. Go ahead.
Oh, we're done. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
Got you. I'm sorry. This is Gina. Right. This is every February 7th is National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, right? So that's one of the things that I do testing that day. I do speaking engagements. We have these types of conversations with adolescents because those are the highest numbers that we're getting right now. Black women, their numbers are starting to creep up and stuff. So you can always contact me at mondaynightmingle.com or go to the Facebook page, Instagram, Monday Night Mingle, all spelled correctly.
Go ahead.
I actually have a HIV STD script that I've been trying to get shot for the last several years to put into these facilities. And literally, I want to use Black actors, but in acting, if it's not that major role, Black actors don't want to deal with that. But I think it's important to share this message like Bobby with the mental health, because it needs to be in the schools, the facilities. Hopefully that'll come to pass. But I'm Cortez Mack. I'm the only one on Facebook. So
actually, you and Gina needs to connect after the show. I think you guys will make a good collaboration.
HIV, I'm an actress.
Go ahead.
My name is Andrea Carter. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Andrea Carter EDD. And I'm excited. I've been through a number of traumatic experiences, but now I'm on the other side. And I would also like to, I'm here to help and inspire people to get to their purpose and continue to move forward in what God has for them.
Briefly describe your books.
Oh, I have my book, The Book of R, Women That Are. This is an inspirational healing book. I don't want to talk about all the trauma that I've been through, but this book, the information in this book is 20 years or 30 years of trauma that I have experienced and how I actually overcame. This is a goal book, and this is some of the strategies I use here is the book that I use to open a couple of my charter schools, multi-million-dollar businesses, and this is one of my prized possessions. Pretty Pop's Adventures. We have a character mascot that we're excited about, and we do author visits at a number of schools. And these are some of the strategies of rhyming words in this book has helped me in education with my struggling readers, with students who couldn't actually read. And we looked at word parts and rhyming words, and I was able to help those African-American struggling readers.
Dr. Sterling.
February 12th, Wednesday, I want you guys, everybody on this panel certainly, and those of you that are inclined to engage in action beyond the words, the Simcoe Solution is a forum that we're taking statewide that involves economic empowerment. We're looking to put a platform in place that allows Black businesses. We're looking for over 100 Black businesses who have already partnered with us to do great things on behalf of the citizens of the state, as is related to taking back our health. HIV Day is all day, every day, because you just aren't susceptible on February 7th, okay? Absolutely. And the long and short of it is that if you are a business, if you are interested in how to become empowered in preventive health strategies, come out. You can find me on jeffreysterlingmd.com. You can register for the event at simpcoillinois.com. That's SIMPCO Illinois.com.
And I had a feeling I was going to get a hard rap. That's going to do it for us on Drive at 5. Thanks to Earl Winfrey, our executive producer, one behind the scenes. You have a wonderful week, everyone.